We're starting our bulletin with a breaking news, which is a WION exclusive. In fact, during his campaign, the Indian Prime Minister, if you remember, Narendra Modi, sparked a storm by hinting at a possibility of Pakistan meddling in the Gujarati elections. His comment was over a meeting, possibly held in New Delhi between the senior leadership of the Congress party and some Pakistani officials. One of the most prominent names to feature in these guest lists was Khurshid Mahmood Kasuri, the former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Pakistan. And our Pakistani bureau chief in Islamabad, Taha Siddiqui, had a chance to speak with Mr. Kasuri over the phone to get his version of the story. Here is what he said. Listen in.
Indian Affairs, also because I happened to be in Delhi recently, attended a dinner, and I was very happy that the dinner given in my honor by Manish Shankar, a Congress leader, was attended by many, including former Prime Minister, former Foreign Minister, former Vice President, former Chief of the Army Staff, former Foreign Secretary, many High Commissioners who worked in Islamabad, and defense analysts and leading journalists. So there's already controversy on that, and I have no desire to drag myself further. Pakistan size should feel so insecure as to drag Pakistan in repeatedly. It was mentioned in Bihar elections, in UP elections, Gujarat elections, but that's a separate issue. It's something which deals with their internal politics. Your basic question regarding Pakistan-India relations, I've already given an answer.
Okay. And I am joined on this story by our political editor, Kartikeya Sharma. Kartikeya, thank you again for joining us. So, to get it straight, Mr. Kasuri, I'm told we lost the line, so just to recap the story, we had a chance here at WION through our bureau chief Taha Siddiqui in Pakistan to reach Mr. Khurshid Mahmood Kasuri, who was the former Foreign Affairs Minister of Pakistan. And he confirmed during his audio that he was in New Delhi, that he was present at a dinner where high dignitaries and high political figures and high commissioners who worked in Pakistan were also present. He also made a comment on the recent Gujarati elections. He in fact said that he is kind of surprised on how Pakistan feels, on how Pakistan was dragged into a matter of internal politics, such as the state election of Gujarat. He said that he felt that this was a kind of a sign of insecurity of the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. We got the line back. Kartikeya Sharma, our political editor, is back on the phone with us. Kartikeya, thank you very much. So we have been able, through Taha Siddiqui, the bureau chief in Pakistan, to have a conversation with Mr. Khurshid Mahmood Kasuri. He said that he felt that naming Pakistan during the Gujarat election was the mirror of a sense of insecurity among the Bharatiya Janata Party. Would you agree?
You see, sometimes issues of domestic interest, which have certain connections with foreign policy, are taken up to actually create a win for electoral strategy. Now, to say that India is insecure because Pakistan is there, I don't agree with that. Yes, what has happened is that certain positions on domestic issue or certain issues in foreign policy by domestic political actors was utilized by the top functionaries of the BJP. But that's how the politics is, and that's how politics is done in every country. Pakistan too has this tinge. What will happen to us in context of Afghanistan? What will happen to us in context of Iran? Sometimes the sense of security is put in comparison with the other, and I think in that context, the whole thing came out. I don't think it was particularly in context of what Pakistan means to India. It was in context of Pakistan being metaphor of something other rather than insecurity.
Thank you very much, Kartikeya. Thank you very much for your perspective. And now the very man who spoke on the phone with Mr. Kasuri is joining us, Taha Siddiqui, our bureau chief in Islamabad. Taha, thank you very much for joining us. So this is quite a bit of a statement saying that he felt that the Prime Minister of India during the election felt insecure. And this is why he dragged Pakistan into a matter which Mr. Kasuri thought to be an internal political issue.
Well, definitely. I mean, when I spoke to Kasturi, who I interviewed, and that clip that you heard was an interview that I did over the phone with him. He basically, was at first a little reluctant to talk about Indian politics, saying that it's an internal matter. But when I, the very fact that Prime Minister Modi has a sort of a perception in Pakistan, which is somewhat talked about, in a negative way, and that's what then he actually eventually did say about Prime Minister Modi, and he emphasized on the fact that there is this insecurity, and that is why Pakistan is mentioned, and repeating all what we've heard before. So definitely, I mean, it was a big statement coming from a former foreign minister about a current prime minister. But he also said that, if you've heard the interview, he also talked about how we should always remember that politics and elections are internal matters of each country, and they should not involve other regional players. And if you look at it, whenever Pakistani elections happen, they're happening next year, most of the time the parties or any groups that would want to have this sort of messaging about India, that's absolutely, first of all, absent. And even if it does happen, those not make it to the mainstream Pakistani politics. Unlike on the other side of the border, where every time elections happen, Pakistan has to figure in that equation somehow or the other.
And Taha, during the conversation, did you get a sense of what was the topic, if there was a specific topic of conversation during this dinner that Mr. Kasturi himself confirmed took place in New Delhi?
Well, he mentioned how it was a dinner where basically a member of the Congress party invited him, but then he also went on to say how there were other people from BJP also part of the dinner, and he emphasized talking about his recent dinner, which basically he was there for his book launch in India recently in Delhi, and across the world he's been doing his book tours, and he basically talked about in particularly in Delhi, he said that the topic of conversation mostly relied on finding common ground between the two countries, and he wanted to talk about his own tenure, which is what his book is all about. How during Musharraf's time, when he was the foreign minister, Pakistan and India became very close to establishing peace between the two countries, and that's what he perhaps also reminiscing and reminding everyone about, and saying that those conversations at that particular dinner, involved and were around that issue also.
Thank you very much. This was Taha Siddiqui. Thank you, Taha, for your perspective. And we are also joined by one of our regular guests, Mr. Sushant Sareen, who's a strategic expert. Sir, thank you very much for joining us. But before I go to you, I would like, for all those viewers who have not had the chance to listen to it, please listen to what Khurshid Mahmood Kasturi, one of the former Pakistani Ministry of Foreign Affairs, told to our bureau chief on the phone line. Listen in.
Indian affairs, also because I happened to be in Delhi recently, attended a dinner, and I was very happy that the dinner given in my honor by Mani Shankar, a Congress leader, was attended by many, including former Prime Minister, former Foreign Minister, former Vice President, former Chief of the Army Staff, former Foreign Secretary, many High Commissioners who worked in Islamabad, and defense analysts and leading journalists. So there's already controversy on that, and I have no desire to drag myself further. Pakistan size should feel so insecure as to drag Pakistan in repeatedly. It was mentioned in Bihar elections, in UP elections, Gujarat elections, but that's a separate issue. It's something which deals with their internal politics. Your basic question regarding Pakistan-India relations, I've already given an answer. Okay.
And I'm also joined on the phone line, beside having our regular expert Sushant Sareen. I'm also joined by Mr. Aslam Bhatti, who is a senior journalist in Pakistan. My first question to you, Mr. Sareen. So, do you see these as a frank disengagement of whatever rumors there might be of Pakistan meddling in the Gujarat election?
Look, there is no evidence as yet that there was any significant meddling by Pakistan in the Gujarat election. But I think Mr. Kasuri protests too much because when he talks about his tenure as foreign minister, as Taha was just speaking, and that was the best time in Indo-Pak relations, then obviously he doesn't watch Pakistani television or doesn't see the interviews of his former boss, who has just said that despite having banned an internationally designated terrorist organization like the Lashkar-e-Taiba, he was hobnobbing and meeting the head of that terrorist organization. And the fact that he considers them to be extremely loyal, Pakistanis and people who are great philanthropists, the Mother Teresa of Pakistan. Now, what does that make the sham peace process during Mr. Kasuri's time to be? It was clearly an eyewash. It was deception at its worst. And thankfully, that peace process has now been shot down to the ground. The second thing is that he doesn't want to become part of any kind of politicking in India, but within his own country, after all, there are slogans of against Mr. Nawaz Sharif, Modi ka jo yaar hai, wo Pakistan ka gaddar hai, and other such slogans. What is that? If India is not an issue in Pakistan, then how come those slogans are being shouted out by mainstream parties? So I think, it is the typical dissemble by the Pakistani side by saying that, India is not an issue and Pakistan is a very peace-loving country. That's just so much of nonsense.
Mr. Bhatti, if you are with us, would you agree with what Mr. Sushant Sareen said?
I was, first of all, wanted to say that I was very much surprised that there was a state election and Pakistan has nothing to do, no stake in Indian Gujarat. Even in Indian Punjab, Pakistan has nothing to do with the Indian state elections, although Pakistan is very much interested in what was going on at the center, that is New Delhi. But in Punjab, if the ruling party wins or the Congress loses, Pakistan has no effect, Pakistan has no stake, Pakistan has nothing to do with it. Pakistan never ever tried to mingle in any neighboring state, especially in the state elections, especially in the provincial elections. So as India has no interest if anybody loses seat in Pakistan, except it was the former Prime Minister or the Chief Minister or any other senior politician. I was very much surprised that why the Indian channels were dragging Pakistan in the state elections of Gujarat and Himachal, that Pakistan may have interference or Pakistan is interfering or Pakistan showed interest in the results. Pakistan has nothing to do with the results of Gujarat elections, Himachal Pradesh or any other state elections. But Pakistan always wants a clear, a good, honest and a faithful neighbor, whatever maybe it is in India, whatever it is in Afghanistan, that is Iran, that is China, that is any other country bordering Pakistan. Pakistan always respects the democratic norms of India, democratic norms of Afghanistan and other countries. Pakistan is a democratic, loving country. Therefore, it is very surprising for me that Pakistan was involved in any state elections or anything have been showed interest in state elections.
Thank you very much. We're running short of time. Thank you very much for all your valuable suggestions. Mr. Aslam Bhatti, senior journalist in Pakistan, and Mr. Sushant Sareen, one of our regular guests, a strategic expert from New Delhi. Gentlemen, appreciate your time in discussing this.